Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is part 2 of myself and Ronan Holding Official reacting to young Joyce being sentenced to 10 years for murder. If you want to watch part 1, jump on over to Ronan's channel, Holding Official. You can find the link in the description box. Give Ronan a sub and give my channel a sub.
And he's used a non-lethal blow, and it's like you say, and it's unfortunate, that the young man bled out. I mean, God bless him and his family. So I can only alliterate like your words and echo like your own words, because that's how I feel. A miscarriage of justice.
Listen, I'm going to say this to you now, right? And I have to just be honest about this here. We'll talk about this separately, but I have to sort of bring it in together. Right now in the north of Ireland, there's drug wars going on left, right, and centre. There's boys getting shot left, right, and centre. There's kneecappings. It's as bad as I've ever seen it in regards to drugs, right? And there's boys getting away with things left, right, and centre. And then you've got a guy. I understand that it's probably not everybody's cup of tea to see three guys coming to somebody's door, him coming out with a slice hook, hitting your fella in the leg, and then somebody dying. And then there's loads of sort of vocals after it. But the law of the land is intent. What is the intent in this situation? The intent wasn't to kill. So if the intent wasn't to kill and it was to maim, then it is manslaughter if the person dies. That's
so what I believe it was the other people that had the intention.
Well, I don't know if they had the intent either, to kill. But what's happened was forget about what's actually the ins and outs of it, right? It doesn't matter if Joe went to their house first. It doesn't matter if Joe was in a helicopter with a python wrapped around dropping pythons in people's houses, right? That's just something silly I just thought there, right? It's the intent in that moment. What is the intent? Yes, you can take into factors people being provoked, but you don't get a diminishing factor for being provoked. Murder is murder at the end of the day, right? This isn't murder. And this is people have to realize. It's not about the traveling community. It's not about the Catholic, the Protestant, the Hindus, the whites, black people, Chinese. It's not about that. It's about the law. The law of the land is, if a person didn't intend to kill another person, and there is evidence of that, that is manslaughter. That isn't murder. And this is where the discrimination comes into. This is where the persecution comes into. This is the prejudice. This is what we're talking about. And if we let this slide now, right? And there's going to be a lot of people watching this, Steve, going, this guy Ronan, he talks the biggest pile of shit. If that had been my son and my son had died, I would want justice. And you're 100% correct. If it had been my son, I'd be saying, do you know what? Yeah, but do you know what? If my son went round to another person's house with a couple of other blokes with weapons, and my son ended up dying from that, and it was just a retaliation, and I found out that it was a leg wound, I would say to myself, it would be harsh for that person to get murder. Very, very harsh. And the fact, and I'm going to just say it how I see this, Steve, right? The fact that it was travelers against travelers, the jury just seen these people as animals. They just went, oh, they're travelers. We need to make a statement. But that isn't the law of the land. And if you let this slide, what's next? Doing this to Protestants, black people, Catholics again, Chinese. Where does this stop? You have to nip this stuff in the bud now. So for anybody else in this situation, they don't get fucked over like the way Joe's being fucked over now. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And I mean, let's do a bit of a role play here. Now, let's imagine that it was Joe that died, and this other lad had taken Joe's life. Now I can honestly see the jury coming back and giving the lad manslaughter.
I couldn't. They're giving him murder too because this is in my personal opinion, this is would you call it discrimination against the traveling community, because the guy that sadly lost his life was also a traveler.
I mean, I'll just get the feeling that, if it was a role play scenario, through the discrimination and because of Joe's background, that if it was Joe's life taken, I've just got a feeling, in my opinion, that the other person would get manslaughter. Because that's a discrimination, again, working, because Joe's a bare knuckle fighter, and a good one at that, and he's from the travelling community. I just get the impression, if the boot was on the other foot, the other guy would have got like manslaughter straight away. But I mean, that's just my opinion. And to show that as a discrimination would be the factor that Joe comes from a bare knuckle boxing background compared to the other lad. I might be wrong, maybe the judge would still give the other person murder. I don't know, but I mean, that's just my opinion.
Listen, we can't. The thing about it is, we don't know the full facts, what the judge was working with. We don't know about the jury. I know I've been very vocal on these people. We don't know how Joe's defence was. We don't know about that, so we can't comment on that. Maybe the judge was just doing his job and his hands were tied. Maybe you get what I'm saying, like, maybe there was.
And he was a new judge, wasn't he? He said that was his first ever case, so. That even might have played the part into it. I don't know, but I know straight away it's discrimination, and I know it's a miscarriage of justice. Definitely.
What I'm getting from the family is they don't blame the judge. They don't blame the jury. They don't blame any of that. And I don't know if that's just them being, sort of keeping things close to their chest, which they're well entitled to. But I never once got the feeling from speaking to them that they were angry with the judge. I spoke to Paul. I've got that interview with Paul, and he says, look, don't go hard on the judge. He was just doing his job. So there's more factors that goes into this. It's the lead up, it's the build up, it's the sensitivity to the case. It's what was laid out on the table beforehand, what could have been done, what was the preparation leading up to this in surrounding the court case, who was pulling the strings in the background, who was picking the judges, who was picking the jury, how did it's those little details that actually matter. And for me, as I say, I just have to keep saying this, there has to be intent. In this situation, he went for the legs, which shows it was just an intent to harm, but not an intent to kill or to murder. So this isn't murder, it's a manslaughter case. Like, it's really unfortunate. As I say, my heart goes out to the McDonough family. And this isn't about them. I would be saying the exact same thing if it was the other way about. If it was the McDonoughs and it was Joe that lost his life, I'd be saying the exact same thing. I'd be saying, look, it's manslaughter. Do you know what I mean? So this isn't me being biased towards Joe because of who Joe is. Because I've had a lot of people come to me and say, look, Ronan, the only reason you're saying this is because Joe's from the north, and he's famous. No, it's nothing to do with that. Listen, I'm not the biggest of. I don't really watch the bare knuckle fighting, the gypsy rule fighting. Do you know what I mean? The traveling rule fighting. I don't really watch that. Watch the BKB, but don't really watch the YouTube stuff. So, look, it's not about that. This is about an injustice case, and he shouldn't have got murder. It's just as simple as that. It's manslaughter. It's manslaughter. But look, how many cases is there in the north of Ireland? How many people are going through this that we don't realise? Do you know what I mean? Has Joe actually shone a light on something here that we didn't realise, and now that there's a light shone on it that we can actually look into certain cases and go, well, hold on here. Why is this guy in prison for 20 years for God knows what? And why is this? Look, I'm just going to say it, right? This is how disgusting the north of Ireland is. Roots, you would call them nonces in England. Roots here get very little. They get a slap on the wrist, but if you get caught selling drugs, you're doing big time. Or if you get caught doing, like, not paying tax or something, you're going to do big time. But a root destroys a kid's life, gets a slap on the wrist, gets to go into a wing or something with his own people, gets a PlayStation, 3 meals a day, and everybody's pal with him. So, where's the justice? Where's the real justice here for the people that that are generally ruining people's lives? Because I'm looking at that situation. I'm looking at young Joe, and what they're taking into consideration is they're thinking, is he safe to put into the general public population of not inside prison but outside prison? Of course he is. Joe would come out of prison right now and not harm a fly for the rest of his life. Just in a very unfortunate situation. But there's people walking the streets that have ruined kids' lives, and they're backed up by the judges. Every other household in the north of Ireland has a Mark Feely living in it, where they're just allowed to do whatever they want. And you know what we'll do? We'll talk about that, and we'll make a separate video about that. But I think it's absolutely disgusting what's going on with Joe at the minute. And I understand that it's a good thing that he's only, it's only 10 years, and I don't know, will he only do half of that? But for me, it's the murder. He shouldn't be sentenced to murder because he's not a murderer, and that's just a fact.
I mean, why should there be two losses? I mean, the young man that's lost his life, my heart goes out to their family. But then on the other hand, Joe's family's lost, like, the family man. And, like you said, Ronan, I can only echo, what you said. And it was a non-lethal blow. Now, I could say, if he had gone to strike him on the neck, then that would be an harder case to argue murder from manslaughter, because that's a jugular vein. But what we're talking about here is a non-lethal blow to the leg, and I repeat, it's unfortunate, that the young man lost his life, but, he never intended to murder anybody that